I actually didn't react personally to the game against Chippa United. I also didn't do the player ratings, which I usually do. Wait, I also didn't do the match preview as I usually do. Hey, Guning. But the thing is, this is all new to me because I don't have a team. It's just me for now. That is why if kukona someone who's in the stadium who's already a member or somehow subscribes to this channel, if you're at the stadium, tell me where you are, and then we can, help each other because I was so tired. I didn't sleep on Saturday because I was traveling to Durban. I was on a bus. It was so cold and I couldn't properly sleep. So when I got to Durban at 5 a.m., I was really cold and I had to wait for the game. The game came. I recorded people afterwards. I was tired. Had to wait for the bus. And then I left. So I was tired for the past 2 days. And yet here we are playing Sundowns tomorrow and Cape Town on Sunday. But what can we say? We'll follow the team wherever they go. Hello and welcome to Khosi Nation Fan TV. I am Pilo, I am your host, and this is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs. Khosi Football Club. As I said, I am trying to figure out how all this thing will work because with regards to having a match reaction to the starting 11, I'm trying to find out how we can do that with the people who will be at the stadium because sometimes the Wi-Fi is not so great. So I don't want to do a live stream and then it's all fuzzy and bad. So that's why I didn't do it this past week. But we'll figure it out as time goes by. And also if there are people traveling to the game tomorrow around Albertine, let me know, guys. Maybe we can go together. Anyways, let's start by looking at the game that we played against Chippa because for us to fix the mistakes or to do better than what we did against Chippa United, we actually need to reflect and see what we did wrong. Because if we didn't win the game, you obviously did something wrong. But even if you did win the game, if there were moments of vulnerability, then you could say, okay, how do we reduce those things and make sure that the team performs at their level best? So one of the few things about the game that we saw that our defense was solid. Now, that is a very good thing, seeing which our defenders were making good tackles, last minute, last ditch defending. That's good, but also bad at the same time. Hear me out. Because if it gets to a point where Kevin Msimango has to make a tackle where we're like, yo, what's this given? That tells you, Guti, we're still conceding dangerous chances. The only difference between now and last season is that now we have the personnel to prevent those goals from going in. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm sure I'm making sense. You see Titloko intercepting the player before chipping the ball over the keeper. Like, last season that wasn't going to happen. So basically we're still committing the same mistakes that we're making last season. It's just that this time we have a better defense. So if you look at it from this side, you're like, yes, our defenders are doing well. If you look at it from this side, then you're like, we are still conceding chances, which is a problem and which needs to be addressed. Because you do that against the Sundowns, no matter how good your defenders are, against a relentless team like the Sundowns, you are bound to make a mistake that they are likely to punish because they are a very good team. They might be a small team, but they are a very good team when it comes to playing football. So I want us to make sure that we don't concede those stupid, easy and silly mistakes and chances that we did against Chippa United. And moving on to midfield here. By the way, I skipped the goalkeeper. Peterson this weekend looked very well. He even came for crosses, which by the way made me look and think of Stewart, what she did for Bafana Banyana the earlier that morning, because on my way to the game I was also watching Banyana that morning, and she was also confident in coming out and catching crosses and corners. So that's also a good thing for Peterson. And going into midfield, by the way, I'm doing this thing as a 2-in-1. I'm kind of reacting to the other game, but also kind of previewing the things that we shouldn't do against the Sundowns. So I hope you get where I'm going with this. We go to our midfield. We look at Edson Castillo. Solid performance. Absolutely outrageous, really good vision. He can see players, he can see people running, and he can pick those passes. We go to Yusuf Mat, another player that last season I was always like, Matt, I know he's good, but something's not happening. But this weekend, I always said his best performances were against the Pirates last season. But this season, against the Chippa, wow. He had a really good game. I saw people criticizing him. I don't get why. He did have those moments where he lost the ball, or once where he took a shot and it was wide. But Matt had a really solid game, Beno Castillo in the midfield. And I like that about our midfield. What I didn't like about our midfield, however, is the fact that as much as we're working hard and winning the ball back, once again, the fact that we had to work hard against Chippa is really sad, because that means Abasasabi, they are now just attacking us, forcing us to mark them, which happens very in football. But usually the big team is supposed to have the ball for the majority of the game. Anyway, we're not there. Sisekteni, defensively, we were solid. Offensively, yes. Because we're going to talk about the forward line right now. But wow, there was nothing at all. Yes, there was nothing. I want to check something, because of being busy, I heard people talking about Guti. We didn't have any shots on target, and my thing is, really, against Chippa, guys, we didn't have a shot on target. It's crazy. It's crazy to think of all those things. Guti, could a team as big as Kaizer Chiefs actually play an entire 90 minutes without a shot on target? I'm pulling up the stats right now and looking at them. Shots were 10, and then on target were 3. So people were exaggerating a bit, but they were not really that dangerous. And then 53 ball position. Ama passes, look at this, 386 for Chippa, 345 for them. And that's not convincing. That's not convincing at all in terms of creativity, because for us to get to positions where we can shoot, that means our midfield must be getting the ball to the forwards. And I didn't see that much. And people are going to talk about the wingers, but I will address that in a moment as well. So with Umshin as well, he is another player who got a lot of scrutiny after that game, because he's a 10, right? And you're expecting him to be the one who's making things happen. And it was non-existent, Shem, in that game. I like the guy, and I'm not saying Seabos or saying we should never play again, no. But he was not there. And there was a video which is the one that seems like you guys enjoy the most, where the other Khosi fan was explaining, which we can't be harsh. It's the first game. It's the first official game. My problem is, yes, I agree, it's the first game and we can't draw conclusions. That's why I'm not saying Mushini sucks. No, I'm not gonna say that after one game. The problem is that the same problems that we saw against the Yanga, against the Township Rollers, are still there. We are not creating enough chances, which means there's a problem between our midfielders and going forward. Because now you have how many lines? You have your 4, the back 4, which are defenders. You have the 2 double pivot, Kamat, Castillo, who combined really well. And then you have the line, which is Saile, Mshini, and then Mtu. That's the third line. Then the fourth line is obviously just one person, which is Orang, who we are also going to talk about. But if you look at those 3, I have asked myself this question. What if we switch from playing a double pivot and play a single pivot, which is Castillo being a 6, and then you have Umshini as a 10, Umat as a 8. Like, play them in a slightly different manner, because you have V2 as the base and then Umshini ahead of them. So when he gets a ball, it's one problem that I saw. There is no support. And if at least they're playing as 6, 8, 10, then at least the spaces between them, the space between the 6 and the 8, it's like smaller, but then there's an option of passing a 10. Then we can pass the right winger. But here it's like these two are passing each other horizontal passes, and then when it has to go to Mshini, they are blocking those passes, or if he gets the ball, they are blocking him from passing other people who are around him. That's the flaw that I see with playing in a double pivot, because then further up front in the field, then you are kind of limited in terms of what your number 10 can do with the ball, and at the end of the day, he ends up being limited. Another thing that kind of I feel like also would limit how Mshini plays, it's something that I've been saying Usail. So with the Chiefs, how they play, they push fullbacks. Well, that's modern football, right? Usually do that. You push your fullbacks, and when you do that, when you push your right back, which is Frosla, by the way, watching a poly grounding is different from watching on TV. you can see all these things that players are doing that usually they don't show you on TV. But you still Frosla pushing. Please subscribe to the channel, by the way. Please, guys, please subscribe. I was so heartbroken seeing people were not subscribing. After I went to the stadium, I'm like, guys, this is content. I didn't sleep so that I can go record people talking stadiums and people are not liking because I didn't ask. So I'm asking, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. So when they overlap, Ufrosla in that case, then Usaile pushes in and he becomes an inverted. So in a way, he plays in half space. So simplified version of this is out wide, white space. So what right now, what left, it's a white space. And then you come inside and then it's called the half space. And then through the middle, it's obviously the mid space. So what happens is through the middle, Velek double pivot here to and net 10 now. Middle space. Then we have space when we are attacking. That's where Sahele gets in, and then we white space. That's how Solomon's overlaps. Same thing now. Left. Umdu comes into half space, and then Ushanti overlaps with white space, and then the midfielders are kind of here in the mid space. There is more to it because you can divide the ground further, but we're not there. Sisekteni, when you push Usail and you make him invert, and then you pass him the ball. Since left his only powerful foot, usually that's the case with even most wingers that we know, about Riyad Mahrez, about Salah, about Ripare when they're in their prime, is that now they have to chase the ball and come back. So the turning around, the time they do that, there's not enough support. And when they do that, even inverter Usaile and pushing him in, Umshini kind of pushes wider and draws to the other side because Uqala have middle space and then Usaile is coming to have space. So now they are too close. So Melubu took Vulane space kancane so that you kind of stretching these guys. If the ball is on the right, yes, Usaile is supporting and Ukasti or Umat are going to form like a triangle supporting each other. But what happens then is that Ipola Seldala Usaile Solomon's Umat, and then Umshini ends up not getting involved. I don't know whether they haven't figured out which runs he should be making or how he should be playing, so he ends up disappearing. If he does get the ball, there's too many people around him. If he's not on the ball, you don't see where he is. So that's why I'm saying Kuning that I feel like we haven't figured out, and the problem is that we're playing Sundowns and we're still figuring things out. But once again, it's the beginning of the season. But once again, we had a lot of time to prepare for this season to say we're still figuring things out against the Sundowns, and we're playing Cape Town City at the weekend, a very tactically organized team. So it's kind of tricky. But Tigek, that's our midfield. Not creative enough, not in the right spaces, not supporting each other. That was a bit problematic. And then you go to our wingers. Our wingers, I've already highlighted the problem with Usail. So Usaile, what I saw grounding, Usaile always makes the right runs. He does. Usaile always makes the right runs. Yabona ke lapho ke ngamdefender ngangishaya ningibulale, but Christian Usaile knows how to make the right runs. If his starting position is being wide, I know Guti players will have to drift in to have spaces from time to time, even to meet spaces, bangene 18 by gup. I know all that. But I feel like it's best for him to receive the ball if he's out wide. Because even with his cutting in, then he can cut in with the ball and then Solomon's overlaps behind him. But if he's getting the ball, he will have space. Then he takes the ball out wide and then he tries to cut back in. And by the time he does that, the defense is already organized. So the way and the timing, Yoguti, when are we passing the ball to the player, kind of hurts us a lot. And that's a big problem. We're going to talk about another striker in a moment. But it's all those things that I kept on seeing. When he got the ball wide, he was giving defenders a problem because it was easy to just start running at defenders, cut in, Frosla is overlapping, pass the ball to Frosla, and then, you get better things from those. I don't know what happened with him. He wasn't, I won't say he was non-existent. Isad Lawa left wasn't playing. Ibola was being played mainly on the right, and that is why Usaile got a lot of the ball, played good. There is a chance that he played for Mtanzane and then he missed. I was like, people were already booing him even when he made that pass, but they didn't say anything about Mtansana missing, which just goes to show which is nama double standards, and we have people that we hate and the people that can do whatever that they want to do and won't say anything. All I'm saying is that it's not fair to boo any player Kaizer Chiefs. It shouldn't be done. And then we go to the forward, Tindabagaranga. Uranga Gugabili. One, he wasn't getting the ball. That's just one of the problems that he had. But why? Because the midfielders were not getting the ball to him. Secondly, he's coming from injury, hasn't played a lot. And coming into a team that is clearly still all over the place, it kind of hurt him as a player as well, because now you're trying to see your role in this team, but it happens when you have a new team. But Uranga won't say much about him as well. Guti, yeah, he sucked. No, he didn't suck. It's just that he's getting used to the whole system. And speaking of strikers, because apparently Chiefs have gone out now and they've signed, I have to look at his name because his name is F. Mam Jason Gonzalez. Yo, wow. He's from Colombia and is currently playing for a Bolivian team called Santa Cruz. And Chiefs have apparently agreed to get him on a loan with an option to make the deal permanent. So we're waiting to see that move. How is it going to materialize? When is he going to join the team? Because he's not going to be here this weekend or tomorrow for that matter. But we just have to wait and see Uguti. How are they going to utilize him? Because for his Santa Cruz team, he has scored 11 goals in eight games, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. Yeah, he scored 8 goals in 11 games for his Santa Cruz team. This is reported by Lorenz Lorenz, basically. Times. So what do I expect from the Chiefs tomorrow? Says Kulmang Exasa, we're transitioning. I think Chiefs, sure, because Urulane came. Urulane was there, Mangoba Mngit was there watching Chiefs and Moses Mapita, and they saw obviously Uguti, one way to attack Chiefs is to try and exploit the right side. That's the first one. The second one is exploiting the left side. It sounds so stupid, letting you show, right? Because here's the thing. If you just put Umrena no Hlant, uzoba nenkinga uHlant. You know what I'm talking about. Hlanti Bafethu, technically he's a good player, right? Technically he can make a pass, we are ukubamba ball, he can do the things with the ball. But pace wise, we all grow up. It just happens. And there were a couple of times where he was chasing and it didn't look comfortable, because I was just looking at him thinking, oh my days, and I was thinking he's gonna pull a muscle, he's gonna pull something, and I thought he was going to get injured. But pace wise, singaba nenkinga if Sundowns decides to do that. And given Uguti Chiefs could, I don't know ukuthi kuzokwenza njani. Is he going to try and have an open game with the Sundowns? Because I think that would be dumb. I think the priority of Chiefs tomorrow is to not lose. I'm just going to say that. Footy not lose. It's not to be embarrassed, right? So the game we should make sure Uguti we keep the game as slow as possible, which means we must have ball players a ground in and make sure Uguti team is not constantly trying to run. Because yes, here's the thing, Sundowns will leave a lot of space behind that defense, which would kind of play into our hands. But the problem with that, Uguti, we play on transition, they win the ball back, then they're attacking us again. Or if we're now playing on transition, obviously we're pushing up, they get the ball back, excuse me. They win the ball and then and then all of a sudden it's their own counter and Hlant is not gonna catch abadlali be-Sundowns because they're lightning quick. And Frostlage, I don't know whether it's because rustiness, because they also got injured towards the end of the season. But Chippa looked to exploit him and try to attack from his side. And Hlanti pace but the only chance, one of the ways that we can win tomorrow's game is to make sure we do not allow Sundowns to make the game fast, even for sections. Ngamani be slow, ngamani poor, but Chiefs shouldn't lose, because if Chiefs loses, it hits their confidence again. I don't like my team drawing. I'm going to Pretoria tomorrow to watch my team win. But if they draw against the Sundowns, I know they look vulnerable against the Sekhukhune, but I'm not going to say, hey, they're there for the taking. No, Brandon Truter is just good as a coach himself. So you're not going to say just because Brandon Truter made Sundowns look average, we think now we should adopt the same game plan, because they have different personnel from us. And we shouldn't approach the game and think, oh no, let's just do what Truter did to have a chance. I would strongly say, Chiefs is not in a place where they can say we can go head to head with the Sundowns. Askahlangani enough to do that. And it would be very smart for us, Uguti. The chances that we will get if we're patient and slowing down the game, although Sundowns is also very organized defensively as well, which is also another problem. Gunzim, it's difficult for me to look at this game and think, what's the best way Chiefs can win? The best way we can win is playing those counters. But the problem is, if we're playing those counters, they must be accurate, because if Sundowns wins the ball back, they attack us, then all of a sudden we're the ones in trouble. So should they go out and defend? I don't know. Those are the thoughts that I would like to hear from you, Guti. What's going to happen tomorrow? What are my predictions? I'm scared of making predictions, and I also know, Guti, if I make a prediction, it's actually just going to be my heart saying, oh, we have a chance of winning. But I'm really scared, and I will be there for it though. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. What do you think about tomorrow's game? What did you think about the game, Chippa? Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals alpelu moya.